Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life, aka Trash Elf Radio. This is episode number 226 at scavengerlife.com. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, Ryan. And welcome to listening to two people using eBay as an engine for success.
Wow, that sounded like it needed an echo on it.
This podcast could definitely go in a very different direction.
Yes.
Okay, so we are here to talk. We are two full-time eBay sellers. I always feel like I always need to say this just in case someone's stumbling upon us.
And they're like, what the heck am I doing?
So we're two people who list on eBay full-time. We make a full-time living from eBay.
Yes.
And we talk about our lifestyle selling on eBay. And some little tips.
Little tips and a whole lot of philosophy and other weird stuff.
That's right. Because, scavenging, we've been scavengers even before selling on eBay.
Absolutely.
And we just discovered you can actually scavenge and make a living doing it as well.
Yes.
Cool.
So we're trying very hard to do that.
So this week,
we
talk about how eBay felt very quiet to us.
Very quiet, yes.
We were very busy.
Right.
On eBay.
Right.
So I think that's a very important thing to talk about. Is like, even when eBay feels quiet, we don't let that affect what we do. We still got things to do.
Yeah.
And we do them.
Yeah.
So you listed almost 100 items this week.
Yeah. I really was putting my head down.
Which is good. And even though when other people talked about this on the blog, there was problems.
Yeah.
There
was technical problems behind the scenes at eBay. Like one day, for example, I could not upload any photos, or it would upload a quarter of my photos and give me errors on the rest.
Well, what I heard is that there was problems with the photos weren't being stored properly. So they would send you that error.
Right.
A caching problem.
And
I'm assuming, these are the growing pains because they're like building this new
seller hub,
and so
there must be things happening behind the scenes.
I feel like this happened last year too. They were doing some kind of update, and it's something, and they're like eBay engineers are trying to rush to get all this stuff built out, and reconnected before the holiday season starts. And really, it's kind
a
of
bad time.
It's just about on us, so I don't know.
I mean, for me, I was really questioning because eBay was so quiet. Just in terms of sales numbers, I'm like, is it because they're doing back-end stuff? But I myself bought stuff on eBay just for household stuff with no issue at all. Right. So I don't know. Right. I mean, it was like, okay, I can buy stuff. Why isn't anyone buying stuff?
And then I was taking photos. I probably took, 100 items as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
definitely close to that.
And so
I took photos too of like jewelry and small stuff and random stuff too. So we definitely, like, when things are slow, go into overdrive. Like, you cannot sit there being depressed. You just have to, like, go do stuff because it will come back.
It's interesting. I feel like this has been true for the past several months. It feels just slow. Consistently quiet.
Yeah, it does.
And but we'll talk about our numbers in a second, and I actually looked at what we were selling last year, so that gives us better perspective as well. But sometimes when it's like this, and we're, I'm thinking about we're going to do this podcast, I'm just like, are we even a good example anymore? Or anyone?
Well, I mean, so my opinion is, we're an example of just regular people doing this. Right. Like, I'm not some, like, big, like, corporate seller with a, warehouse and employees. We're just two people. Like, this is what it feels like when things get randomly slow.
Right.
You're like, eh.
I mean, I think I have to remember, too, that we are not trying to be a podcast where we're, like, trying to always talk about the road to success. If anything, it's about showing how two people get through eBay or life when eBay feels slow and you're depending on that income.
Yeah. I mean, we always say this podcast is just us documenting what we're doing. Right. Like, I'm not like, hey guys, use us as an example. I'm going to tell you what works for us and what it feels like for us every week, but that's it.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm going to drop some knowledge on you.
Oh,
okay?
Great.
So I think the reason why eBay works for us is because we work on the back end too, and that's about our expenses. And we talk about this all at the time, but I think it's really important to talk about, not just making money on eBay and how to make money, but also how to balance our expenses on the other end. So when things do feel slow like this, we aren't getting crushed. So for instance, this month, it's the end of the month, or it's just
the end,
beginning. We paid a lot of bills. Mm-hmm. We had our real estate taxes.
Now, let's just explain. In our county, you pay real estate taxes in June and then in November/December, like the end of the year.
And in our state, you also pay, it's personal property taxes,
which is taxes on your cars, essentially.
Boats, if you have like expensive equipment.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
Like farming equipment or something like that.
So we paid off our credit card.
Yeah.
Because we actually charge everything to our cards to get these points.
Right.
And then we pay it off at the end of every month.
Right.
And we covered it all. I mean, so we did it. We paid everything. So we're like good to go. But I'm telling you, I don't know how people can pay all their bills, and be caught up if they have a lot of other bills. Like we don't have car payments.
Right.
Private schools, anything like that. I don't know how people do it.
But it's crazy though, because you just named like some pretty big payments, like real estate taxes, rental taxes, and credit cards. But we had enough money to cover it, even though eBay was slow.
Right. But imagine, and this is, I think, why we can be successful on eBay, is because we've chosen not to buy new cars.
Right.
So we don't have
car payments,
those bills. Yeah. We don't buy clothes, those kind of things. I mean, like, we're able to be okay because we just
slimmed down on that stuff.
Man, and people that have kids, my hats are off to you. Thank you for carrying on the human race.
Yeah.
And paying those bills.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then also, here's the other thing. This is very important to me.
Yes. It's so obnoxious sometimes.
Ryan's going to get very bored.
I love you, but...
So this past year, we've talked about it, how we found this place in the town next to us that's like a scratch and dent.
It's a grocery outlet.
It's a grocery outlet. And, they sell stuff that's either close to expiration. Some of it's even expired.
Yeah.
And the sales that we always love, and they always have them, are like 3 for $1. Where you can get, things of bagels and...
Yeah, just...
And a lot of the stuff, canned food, things we either freeze or we put in our pantry. And so anyway, this past year, we probably spent, $600.
Yeah.
$700.
Stocking up.
Where we would go spend $100 and get a carload of stuff. I mean, true scavenging.
Lots of stuff.
So anyway, when we came back from overseas, I realized like we had all this food instead of keep going to buy more. Because that's the thing, we could just keep going and getting all these great deals. I was like, let's just not buy any more food and just eat what we have. Yeah. And so that's what we've been doing. And man, we have a lot of food.
I've been eating a lot of soup. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
We would get
it's really good.
Soups.
The thing is, it's like gourmet soup. Right. So I'm just like, it's 30 cents and it's amazing.
And it also reminds me of that when we cook for ourselves, food lasts so long. I made some hummus. Because we had some chickpeas that we had bought, some dried chickpeas, and I made some hummus out of it. And I only made 3 cups of peas, but I made a huge, I had to freeze some of it because it's just more hummus than we can eat,
Yeah.
So I guess my point is, we're trying to just use what we have, especially when times feel slow.
Right.
And we're about to get into its numbers, and actually... It's a surprise that it's not as slow as we think. So we try and cut down. So when we feel like we aren't making enough, we really try to contract our expenses and things things we eat. And and it's all about using what we have versus acquiring more.
Right.
And I think even for us, we love to buy stuff. It's fun just to get something new or to keep us looking for things that we might want, but. I think it's important as a scavenger, and especially as an independent business owner, to do that, is to always just try and use what you have and fight the the idea of acquiring more.
Right. And I mean, our thing too is like, when you say acquiring more, I mean, it's more about, recycling things and scavenging things. Like, we don't really buy that much stuff, to be honest. I mean, we buy merchandise to sell, but, I think it's easier for scavengers to do that than regular people.
Well, like, even it's for us, we live in a small country town.
Yeah.
And like a lot of us, there's like a Walmart, and that's now where everyone goes to, because that's just where everything is. And we go to Walmart probably sometimes 2 or 3 times a week.
Right.
It's just kind of like a thing. You're in town.
You're just there.
You got to pick up some milk, so you have to go to the huge superstore to get like a gallon of milk. But we end up, sometimes we'll walk out of there with $50 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not stuff we necessarily need. It's just you're in there.
Yeah.
But
a lot of times too, just to be clear, a lot of that stuff is for the farmhouse,
True.
So that is business stuff. It's not just us like, let's just buy stuff for our house. I mean, it is grocery wise sometimes, but I think generally we're pretty good at, really being minimal when we have to be minimal, and all the time, really.
Sure. And also, I was thinking of this. So, again, it felt slow. It's this week. And I'm like, okay, there were a couple evenings where we were both kind of like, it was quiet among ourselves, but I think we were both a little bit stressed.
Yeah.
That, like, why aren't things selling? You
Yeah.
know? Like, where's the money?
I mean, it would be like a $12 sale.
Right.
And all day, a $12 sale. And you're like,
So, I think about, okay, what are our strengths and weaknesses as we sell things on eBay. I mean, I have to remember how it works. Large companies, large corporations, they create products, and then they spend millions of dollars to convince you to buy it.
Yes.
It's kind of like, and I remember a couple of years ago, there was like that thing where a bunch of dogs died because these Chinese manufacturers, like dog food manufacturers, put something in it. But it wasn't just one brand. It was multiple brands. So it was one factory making the same dog food, but different brands bought the same dog food and just stuck different labels on it. And the only difference between them was the level of advertising and marketing they did.
And that's the difference in the price, too.
And so I think that that's very true for a lot of large corporations. It's not really about what they're selling you. It's just how they make you feel when people buy it. And you know what? We don't make anything. And we can't convince anyone to buy what we have. I mean, and I think I always have to remember that. Like, we talk about kind of being helpless as people that sell on eBay. Like, there's a small amount of effect we can have.
Right.
All we can do is list.
Yeah.
I can't convince anyone. We don't advertise anything like that. We're like those little fish that swim alongside like the sharks or the whales, just eating like true like little scavengers, like eating the food that is left over. So all we can do is just stay close to the shark and just keep scavenging and listing. And as long as the shark is eating, we'll do okay. And so I guess I just mean that as long as the greater economy is doing good, as long as big corporations are making money, I'm sure we're going to do okay too.
And I think also like over the past 5-6 years, we have learned there are slow times, and sometimes they're random, and sometimes they're during Christmas, fourth quarter, and you just have to be like, this is not the end. Like, it's you just have to keep listing. I mean, that's what we say.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, do the numbers, because, sales are spread out and are small, but at the end of the week, what does it look like? I haven't even looked at our numbers yet, so I don't know. So I'm interested to see, because it really felt kind of dire, this week. It was like, oh, God.
Right. I don't know if you experienced this, Ryan. I would love to hear you say this.
Okay.
So, this week we were putting in regular hours into doing eBay.
Yes.
And you're over in the office doing a listing, and it's yourself, and I'm over in our home. I got stuff all over the floor. I'm taking photos, and I'm writing descriptions, and it's measuring things. And I will get, like, existential pain. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll just be like, is this my life?
Pain, like you're distressed, like you don't want to do it.
Yeah, just like the pain of I'm just like, so this is my life. Like, all this junk on the floor, like, I have to take care of, like, this is what I'm doing. Like, this is what my time is being spent on.
The only time I feel that is when I'm listing low-priced items.
Yep.
When I look something up and say, this is only worth $12, I absolutely feel like that. I'm like, I took the time to buy this, store it, and, we photographed it, wrote a title, measured it, and now I'm listing it, and it's worth $12 effing dollars. Like, that's when I'm like, oh my God. But at the same time, the object right next to it is worth $150, and that's what I'm going to ask for it. But I didn't know that until I did the research. So, you can kind of work yourself out of that funk.
Yep.
Because, number one, things are interesting and weird. And number two, things sell. Weird things sell, and you're like, who knew? And that gets me out of that weird existential craziness, know? And the excitement of, like, thinking that this money is going to go towards other interesting projects. You know? It's not just, like, a grind. But I totally get in those moods where I'm like, $15.99.
Yeah, I mean,
$12.99.
The way I get through it is just, and sometimes it doesn't even matter if it's expensive stuff or not. I'm just like, I just got to do it. Like,
get it out of the way.
There are worse things I could be doing.
Well, that's my second thought is, I could be like we said, we paid our real estate taxes, and we've been going down to the county building to talk about whatever permits and stuff like that for random projects that we might do. And, you see those people in the office, and I'm like, oh, I could be doing that. Sitting behind a desk, shuffling paperwork for the county.
Yep.
Or whatever, whoever. And I'm like, I get to leave and go get coffee and then, like, take pictures of absolute garbage and sell it on the internet.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, no.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, that's so much more refreshing. When we visit offices like that, I'm like, I can't wait to get home.
Yeah. Or, we do like we did yesterday. We basically just watched
Netflix.
Movies / TV.
Well, we took
Netflix.
a day off.
Yeah.
Actually, you did note this. We did work for 2 hours.
Right. We took a break from taking a break to do work. So, like, halfway through the day, there was some good light, so I took a bunch of pictures, and you were organizing photos.
And writing descriptions and stuff.
And actually, we watched that new series on Netflix by
Aziz Ansari. He's very funny. He was on Parks and Rec. A lot of people
know him. He has a new show called Master of None.
And it's really good. It's on Netflix.
It's only on Netflix. It's a very cute show.
It's so fun. I've never heard you call a show cute. You're like, this is such a cute show. I'm like, what?
Like, it's very, like, it was.
I think you need to tweet that at Aziz Ansari.
/ touching.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go watch it on Netflix. Woo.
Okay, so that's all. If people are still here.
Yeah. If you're still listening.
This is just us telling you that it was a slow week, and we're kind of explaining to you our internal processes of how we deal with that.
Internal existential crisis.
Because we have to get through weeks like this.
Yeah, totally.
But another thing we do is we do the numbers. So let me do the numbers.
Okay.
We actually made more money this week than last week.
Right.
So this week we sold 25 items for a little more than $1,400. So almost $1,500. Right. That was in our main store.
That's in our flagship store.
In our flagship store. And then in our second store, we sold 10 items for about $225.
Not bad, $200.
So basically, we made, almost $1,700. So we hit that over $200 a day that we liked it.
It sure did not feel like that.
Yep.
And our average price sold in our main store was almost $60.
Yep.
That seems insane to me, but...
And we'll talk about that when we talk about the things we sold. There's kind of a reason why average we sold one good high dollar item. But so I wanted to compare this to sales from last year. Okay. And this is what happens too when like things are slow. I start getting into the numbers like, is this slower than it was
in last year?
So in 2014, these are the numbers from sales. And this is just from sales. This does not include postage or...
It's just gross sales.
A shipping income. And the way I do this is we use GoDaddy bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And I'll actually put a link to it. They have like a link called Profit and a Loss. And you can go back and look. And so I'll link to it. So if you do use GoDaddy bookkeeping in, if you're logged in, you should be able to... It's click it and see your own numbers. So in June... in 2014, we made the same as we did in 2015.
That's interesting.
About. I mean, there's going to be a couple $100 on
Yeah, but it's even.
In July, we actually made, in 2014, we made $1,500 more. So actually, that was in August, we made about the same.
Okay.
In September 2014, we made about $500 more.
Yeah.
So not that much more.
It's not that much more, but...
In October of 2014, we made $3,000 more than we did this year.
So that's a crazy number. Like, what is up with that number? Were we doing art auctions on consignment? Is that what it was? We should look back and see.
I don't know, because, we had traveled the same time as last year. We were away for a month, so you can't blame that. I don't know.
Right.
So...
I don't know. But it's interesting because you kept saying the last couple weeks, we were making so much more last year. And in my head, I was thinking, that can't be true. Right. But it is. I mean, $3,000 extra last October.
But see, I guess... I'm seeing it where, October we definitely made a lot more last year. This time last year, we had made $11,000 more over the entire year than we did now.
Wow,
so
that is crazy.
Down $11,000.
Wow.
And that, to me, is a lot, for sure. So basically it averages out to we're making about $1,500 more per month.
Right.
Overall, average.
Yeah.
I would like that, but it's not as bad as it feels.
It's good that you did that number because it's not like you're down by half. It's not like our sales have been 50% of last year. No, they haven't been 50%. Not even close.
I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because it's our inventory. We've been listing a lot more low dollar items. Maybe we're doing less clothes. I mean, are we spending less time on eBay and more on our rental business?
Maybe. Yep.
Is it because there are a fewer eBay buyers? Like eBay people are shopping in other places? Or is it just because people in general are buying less? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like big corporations have teams of departments that figure all this out.
Right.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
And
it could be a combination of all those things. And also the thing about corporations too is their numbers will fluctuate year to year. Just like anybody else's. You could have a really good year, you could have a regular year, you could have a low year, you could be back up again. You know, that's just sales.
Right.
We have to remember that.
But I guess at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we're still making the money we need to make to pay all our bills plus.
Yes, absolutely.
Just for us, it's that plus part.
Right.
We're making what we need to make plus a little bit more to do some kind of cool things. I would love that plus to be bigger.
Bigger, yeah.
Because,
of course.
we have, big dreams of things we would like to invest in and do. So
the other thing, too, is... October's gone, it's November, and everybody's like, it's holiday season, so stuff should be cranking, and it's not.
Right.
So everyone's a little bit like,
True.
Everyone in this house especially, we're like, so what is going on? Because there are times sometimes between November, December, where you'll have $1,000 days, easily. Right. And when a $12 item sells and that's the only thing that sells during the day, you're like,
well,
what?
That's why I like it when other people go on our blog and they post its numbers in the comments. And some people are.
Right, some people are having those numbers.
So again, that's good. To me, it shows it's not everybody.
Yes.
It's whatever. It is what it is. So anyway.
But I just want to say I love this week when something would sell. You would say several times this week, well, at least we know our store is not completely broken or turned off or I'm like, Jay, okay.
I mean, it's because I understand the people that go on the eBay forums
the conspiracy theories
and spend hours or their time
Yes.
involved in conspiracy theories, trying to find very complicated reasons why their stores aren't doing well. And normally it's outside forces.
External forces.
Conspiring against them to not.
Because it feels, you know what? It feels like that sometimes.
Right. Like, did someone just accidentally push a button and
erase my store?
And our store got turned off, or something happened in the algorithm and we got pushed way down in the search ring. Anyway, but so when things sell, we know we're okay. Anyway, so let's talk about things we sold.
Yes.
And we like to talk about
high dollar item. Now
it's fun.
I did show this item on my video.
Right, and we sold a vintage
Singer sewing machine, a treadle machine. We sold it for $600.
I think we had it for $1,200.
I put it up for $1,200. You know why? Because the last Singer sewing machine I sold, which was 2 years ago, I sold it for $900.
Right.
But that had a working treadle on it, a working treadle strap that I had put on, and it actually worked.
I mean, real quick, we have a working treadle.
It's working.
It just doesn't have the strap.
The strap, yeah. So that just has to get installed. I took a lower price.
It was also slow, so we were like, yeah, we'll take
$600. Hell yeah!
So we bought it for whatever, $50 to $75.
Yeah, I think it was about $50.
And and this was one of our. It's just a furniture experiment. We've been doing this for the past couple of years, where it will see a nice, well-made piece of furniture, and for pretty cheap, because people don't want this stuff. We'll buy it and we'll store it like on our porch or in a storage shed, and people do a local pickup. The concern about this is that she's paid.
She paid that day,
because we always like for people to pay through PayPal and not do like cash. Yeah, because we want them to be committed. Yeah, like we have her money now. She just has to pick up. The problem is she's been like writing us like her husband doesn't want to come pick it up, and she's trying to. And so my worry is we're going to get an email from her that's like, "Oh, I just want to cancel it."
Yeah. My question to you is that so that's the issue with this week, is that we made a $600 sale. We're like, that bumped our numbers up, but if she cancels, that's $600 that goes away. Right. But I have a question for you. So if she cancels, would we charge a restocking fee for that? Because she's not returning it. She's just never picking it up.
I don't think so. I think you just have
to be like, refund.
But that's why I messaged her a couple days ago, and I was like, because she lives about 2 hours.
2.5 hours.
I actually said, we'll drop it off.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a cousin that lives close by, because I didn't want to seem like I'm desperate.
Right.
Like, I'm actually going to spend a whole day to bring this to you. And she hasn't returned my email.
Now, we discussed it extensively. We were like, should we just like make basically what any good scavenger would do? We'd make a day of it. We'd go down there. It's near Roanoke. We'd go thrifting and look for, cool whatever. So that's not a problem. But we're like, is it worth a full day of our time, like a bunch of driving for $600? And we said yes.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's the
cross your fingers.
Another thing we sold a horse saddle.
Yeah, saddle. It's a youth size saddle. It's a small saddle.
It's vintage.
It's all leather. It's got a suede seat and then oiled leather on the side.
It's really beautiful.
It's beautiful. I think it's for display. I think someone's going to hang it up.
And we bought it at an auction. It's one of those things where
nobody wanted
it for $5 because everyone's like, why would I?
It was really dirty too.
But I'm like, because it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and we cleaned it up. It was dusty, and I think the leather was really dry, so we oiled it. It looked beautiful. So we sold that for $150, and I have to ship that to them. It's not hard to ship those. You just need a big box. So that was a nice sale. I was like, oh, phew.
And we also sold a smoking pipe holder.
Yeah, a pipe holder.
Just like it's a wood base with like
hammered brass,
holder,
very mid-century.
And the reason why we found out about pipes and pipe holders are from a couple people on the blog. I think it was Matt and Brian
and
from Grandma's Treasures,
and Adam from Mysterious Caravan.
Right.
Way back when, he was like, I sell pipes and pipe holders, and we had those pipe holders, and I was like, oh, that's what those are. They're pipe holders. Right. So they're great because pipes are really popular right now. I don't know if it's because I don't know. You know what I think it is? It's those like hipster dudes with like the mustaches, the like curled wax mustaches that are smoking pipes. That's my thing.
I think it might be too like baby boomers, like guys, because it's a. I think it feeds into like collecting. Like
collecting.
You're trying to finish a collection.
Yeah.
Because I have a buddy in LA who has started to sell on eBay, and he was having problems finding stuff that he can sell in his small apartment, and he came across a family member that has a bunch of pipes, and he's selling these pipes for him.
Yeah, it's really good.
And he's getting like $400 for a pipe.
I know. It's incredible.
I don't know. So I guess it's because...
It's a trend right now. I think it's a hipster trend. Or, like you said, it's baby boomers that are filling out their, like, dad's pipe collection or something like that.
Yeah.
I also think it might be because weed is legal in 2 states, and it's becoming more legal.
I don't think...
You don't think people are smoking weed in those?
No.
Really?
People...
Those are just tobacco
people that
pipes?
Smoke weed are, like, I mean... It's like modern
You
times.
just
Like they're using
whatever.
Vaporizers.
Oh, that's true. No, that's weird.
And like little one hitters and that kind of stuff. So I mean, I guess.
How do you know?
Some people might. Come on.
I saw it on TV.
Yeah, I don't smoke pot now, but I have in the past.
Wait, so I just have a question for you, real quick. Those vaporizers, how do you? What is it? A liquid that you put in there?
They didn't.
Because I saw that on TV last night, and I was like, "What?"
They didn't really have that stuff when I was. Or I didn't get involved in any of that stuff when I was smoking pot in my younger years.
Yeah.
I just did the old-fashioned smoking joints.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I guess it's somehow, I don't know. I'm sure
someone will inform us on drug paraphernalia. Yeah. I guess I could Google it right now, but I'm too lazy. Okay, so let's move on to a nice low price sale.
And then the last thing we want to talk about that is we sold because... It was like this little patch that we found in a box.
Yes.
It's a little dinosaur.
It was a brontosaurus.
About the size of a quarter?
Yeah, it's very small.
And, normally I would have just thrown it away. And Ryan was like, that's so cool, let's sell it. And we sold it for $6.
And it's funny because it was definitely vintage. Like, to me, it was like from the 70s, like... little brontosaurus, green brontosaurus that you'd like stick on like a denim jacket, like just cool and nerdy, and it sold for $6 plus shipping. So I love sales like that because it's the most random stuff that's at the bottom of a box, and you're like, some nerdy cool kid is going to be looking for this, and it sold. But
that was one of those things where like it's a slow day, and we hear the cha-ching. I'm like, something sold.
$6.
Like, $6.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Worst. All right, so customer issues this week, we had none.
Oh, the only customer issue was possibly that woman not picking up the sewing machine.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. And it's not quite an issue yet.
See, I don't call that an issue because it's not an issue.
It's not an
yet.
issue yet. Okay. Right. Yeah, no customer issues. Yeah. Yay. Wow, can you believe it?
It's returns, no anything. So
yeah,
it's good.
Weird.
So we always mention our rental property because it is an integral part of our income now.
Yes.
And I only mention this because it really is like eBay. So we had a guy, a man, book 2 weeks in the summertime.
In July.
Like ahead of time.
Which to us, we were like, that's awesome.
It's like $2,500.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
And then I get a phone call from him. It's within an hour of him, doing the booking online. And he's like, wait a second. They're making me pay because we go through Airbnb. They
make you pay.
They're making me pay for this all up front. I don't want to do this. And I was like, well, just cancel. And he did. So. Well,
now my question for you, because coming on a week that we felt was really slow, that felt painful as well.
Right.
They don't pay us right away, but Airbnb holds the payment and then pays you once they check in. But to know, like, a straight 2 week booking, $2,500, like, that felt so good.
I know.
We couldn't believe it. We were just like, that's great. And then it's the disappointment. It's like someone, buying a painting for $2,500 and then being like, oh, sorry, I did that by accident. You're like, oh, God, you know?
But we did have people in our rental almost all week. So, again, that has been nice for us. That's something we did was, investing in this place. So we have this money.
Other income.
we're getting into a winter where we have no reservations for December, January, February. So so that's income we're not going to be able to count on. So that makes eBay even more important.
Right, exactly.
Okay, some news. I'm sure you guys have noticed when you go to your seller dashboard and you go to its performance page, eBay will bring up a window that shows you your new top-rated seller standards that will be in effect in it's February.
Okay, they do that now? I haven't seen that.
So they show you a preview based on your numbers now, how you're going to rank then. It's all good. Everyone should probably be happy because they're taking away a lot of the things that people hated about defects and all this stuff. The one thing that was interesting that I think people are going to start having a concern with, because I don't quite understand it, is called late shipping.
Right.
And so it's called the late shipment rate. And it says, if you ship on time and upload validated tracking on your buyers, or your buyers tell us a shipment was on time when they leave feedback, you're all set. Otherwise, if tracking details or your buyers indicate that more than 7% of your transactions were shipped late, we may follow up with you about your handling time that you currently offer. When there's no tracking available and no response from the buyer, the transaction won't be counted. So this is interesting. If I'm understanding correctly, it's not just now good enough to upload. Like, if we say we ship next day, we just can't upload the info on the package and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Now it's like we're being judged by how quickly it gets there.
Yep.
So there was actually, I noticed that there was 1 or 2 packages that were considered late.
Oh, for us? I have to look at that.
And so I guess what they're trying to do is they're trying to catch the sellers who print a label
but don't ship
and upload tracking but don't actually ship.
Now, I bought something this week for our friend. I bought a cell phone battery for my friend because they couldn't figure out how to buy it. Crazy, I know. And it took this person, I think, 7 days. No, it was like 5 days to ship it.
We bought it on a Saturday, and the tracking didn't start to move, and they uploaded the info,
tracking like soon,
but it didn't move till I think Wednesday,
and I got it Friday, and I was like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?"
So anyway, I don't know. Because they're pretty strict on that. So that might be the one thing that people might start having a problem with.
Yeah, and you know what? I will say this, and I think this is a good thing, and I think that the defect ratings is a good example of this. Within, is it 1 year or a year and a half of defect ratings becoming a thing? They're changing them. So if this late shipment rate becomes like crazy and just normal people are getting like dinged like crazy, I think that they will amend it.
I hope so, because we've talked about this in the comments where we'll ship something right away, but then in the postal service it gets caught up as it gets sent to the wrong packing facility, and it starts going back and forth.
Or the person has a forwarding address and they didn't tell you about it and it's getting bounced back. I mean, we've all seen that happen.
Right. So, I don't know why we would get punished when something like that happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, there you go. Okay, so things we learned in the comments. It was kind of a quiet time on the week. I think everyone's probably just focusing on their business, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really learned a lot other than I heard other people talking about having problems putting their items on eBay. So eBay having problems. And then I heard other people saying how it's been really slow. And some people are like, I haven't sold anything for 5 days,
Jeez, yeah. And bugs when you're listing where, you press, post listing and it's like, eBay's not responding. And you're like, oh boy. But I still was able to list. Yep.
So our coming week, when we're at home and can work on eBay consistently, I have this fantasy that feels so true. I'm like, if I can list, or if we can take photos and list consistently, we might be able to catch up. It's like this fantasy I have that I've had ever since we started about catching up with all of our back inventory piles. Because it really seems possible. Like, if I'm able to take pictures of 100 items, I can get through several boxes of stuff. Yeah. and even keep up with new stuff we're bringing in.
Right.
But it just seems like a fantasy. But
we keep shopping, so
yeah. But I don't know. We will see. So that's what my kind of. I'm gonna see if I can't fulfill my fantasy. Is just
that's.
Get through stuff we have and see if this a wintertime can really be about just getting stuff up.
Yep, absolutely. We've been doing pretty well.
Yep,
doing that.
Okay, so we're going to answer some questions. We don't really have too many to answer, but you can either email us. You can also go to the blog at scavengerlife.com and just leave a comment, and us or other people will answer you quickly.
Or you can call us on our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. And you have 3 minutes to leave a question or a comment, and we'll play them on the podcast.
Hello, my name is Jordan. I've been listening to the podcast for about 2 years now and selling full-time as my only source of income for about 6 months. And I want to say thanks for doing all you do. It's a big help for a lot of us. My question is regarding shipping. For example, earlier today I sold a vintage Craftsman radio where the buyer paid shipping. They're paying roughly $40 for a USPS parcel select. And when entering in all the information into eBay, I noticed that I could ship it cheaper and at the same speed using FedEx. So my question is, what are your thoughts on using a different shipping method than what the buyer paid for, as long as it's similar in shipping speed?
Okay, so my theory on this is as long as the shipping time is not different, like I would think that Parcel Select and FedEx Ground, they're both ground, so they're going to take about the same amount of time. So if FedEx Ground is cheaper, you can use that, and you can either choose to refund your customer if you want to do that, or keep the money. That's up to you. That's up to your discretion.
Yeah, I mean, normally we find that buyers don't care how it gets to them as long as you aren't downgrading the shipping. Unless every so often we'll get a buyer that's like, please use FedEx because the post office doesn't ship properly to where
my
I live.
address.
And so unless they specifically ask for a certain thing, as long as we're getting it to them in the time it promises, it shouldn't matter.
So like if someone pays for priority mail but FedEx Ground is cheaper, you don't want to send it FedEx Ground because priority mail is going to be faster and they paid for that. But when it's both ground or it's both expedited, you can kind of like choose between those.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine to do that, and then you decide what you want to do.
Yeah, we have never had a customer complain about how they get the item.
Yeah.
The only time they've complained is when they pay for like priority and we've accidentally shipped
first class. On a lightweight item.
And they're like, wait a second, I paid for a higher and you did, and then we'll say, okay. So
and I'll refund them.
Yeah. But
exactly.
those have just been a problem on our end where we've accidentally done that.
Yeah.
And we don't purposely ship slower than what they paid for.
Yeah. Like if someone chooses priority over first class because they want it faster, in my mind, automatically, I'm always sending hats first class, so I'll accidentally do that. But yeah, that's just how we deal with it, and I think it's fine to do that.
Cool, so that's it for this week. If you have any questions or comments, you can, again, check out our blog at scavengerlife.com. You can, I'll put some links on there of things we talked about, and you can also join the conversation as well. Tell us how your week went and post your numbers. You can call and leave a question or comment.
Again, that phone number is 540-407-8486.
And we post this episode every Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on when we get it done. And then Wednesday, we'll probably post another What Sells video so that you can see things we actually sell. We do have an interview we have to eventually edit.
I keep saying that. I know. We keep getting busy.
It's just how it is. Okay, so that's it for this week, and I hope that, things start picking up for all of us.
And you just got to keep listening. Yep. That's it.
This podcast is ending in 3, 2, 1,
0. Bye.